Up next is newspaper review.
And Chukwudi Ubaja, our newspaper reviewer, is here in the studio.
Good morning, Victor.
Seated and already glancing through.
Can you please
the papers?
Answer,
Good morning
reply
to you.
my greeting and
Chooks the boy.
Description. Ray is going to discover things that are not in me or around me. Good morning, my dear.
Good morning, Chukwudi. Good to see you.
Same here.
You look like Valentine.
You're still describing.
I can't see Valentine anywhere.
Well,
all right, let's get right into it. It's just you that has a touch of Valentine. So let's see the Daily Trust, and of course the lead story here says Ribadu tackles Canada for denying CDS orders visas. The writer will state opposition. That's coming from the embassy, and that's on page 4. Above that, National Assembly passes 54.99 trillion naira 2025 budget. That's on page 4 of the Daily Trust. And beside that, Southwest governors to establish joint security surveillance team. UTME, that's the kicker. Parents, candidates express frustration at registration centers, and that's on page 3. Away from that, the picture story here is worrisome on the front page of the Daily Trust, and the caption says Comptroller General of the Nigerian Customs Service Adewale Adeniyi alongside others inspecting some of the weapons confiscated at the Federal Operations Unit Zone A, Ikeja, Lagos State yesterday. That's right here, and the story is on page 18. Below that, Lassa fever kills 70 persons in 1 month. That's also worrisome, and that's on page 7. Minimum wage, that's the kicker. Workers shut FCT schools, Council Secretariat, and that's on page 20. Next to that, we must get communities to defend themselves, coming from the DSS DG. You want to hear that again? We must get communities to defend themselves. And finally, from the front page of the Daily Trust, UB photographer breaks Guinness World Record, and that's on page 33. Let's see the leadership now. Leadership Friday begins with 2027 Gang Up. ACF, Afenifere renews stance on rotational presidency. The riders, North, not Kingmaker, can't produce president alone, according to Arawa Group. There's understanding between North and South, according to Afenifere, and that's on page 4. Above the masthead, minimum wage must be implemented in FCT area councils, according to Wike. DHQ launches operation to rehabilitate former bandits in Northeast. That's on page 4. And National Assembly passes 54.99 trillion naira 2025 budget. That's on all the papers this morning. That's on page 7 of the leadership. And finally, we have this story, which is making headlines everywhere. NSA berates Canadian embassy for denying CDS others visas. That's on page 15. Victor.
All right, thank you, Ray. And I have the Nation here to begin with. And the major story, National Assembly passes 54.99 trillion naira 2025 budget estimates. Lawmakers raise allocations to INEC, armed forces, anti-graft agencies, and others. All right, and on the opposite side of that story, why CDS, others were denied Canada visas. Ribadu lashes North American country. Okay. And just above the main story, and that's below the nameplate, Southwest governors join forces to ward off ISWAP bandits. The rider, creation of food hub in each state to bring down prices. All right, and just above the nameplate, alleged 6 billion naira fraud, Otudeko fails to appear in court. Lawyers refuse to undertake to produce him. And March 17 fixed for ruling on jurisdiction. All right, that's about it. Okay, the tiny strip at the bottom says, CBN to banks, don't limit ATM withdrawals below 20,000 naira. Page 7. And Anyanwu at his PDP desk. Page 5. That takes us to the blueprint. And the lead story here reads, Missing rifles. IGP faults audit report. 6 discreet closed-door investigation. 2 riders are here. Customs hands over seized 3,897 rifles, cartridges to Arms Control Center. Weapons will be treated in line with international conventions. That's according to the NSA. Above the nameplate, troops neutralized 75 terrorists, arrested 138 criminals in 1 week. That's credited to the Defense Headquarters, and the story is on page 9. Below the nameplate, Tinubu approves recruitment of 50 doctors, 100 nurses for prison inmates. Page 6. In business, ATM charges necessary for market efficiency. That's according to an expert. Page 20. And in sports, under 20 AFCON, Flying Eagles face Egypt, South Africa, Morocco. That's on page 32. I think we'll leave it here. Chukwudi.
Yeah, Victor, let's leave it there. But I'm not leaving this bet on ACF Afenifere renewed stance on rotational presidency. You know, this thing between North and South in terms of producing who rules this country, you look at it, it has a lot of merits because Nigeria, Africa at large, as a whole, is still in the process of making themselves politically. But when you hear about presidency coming from the North, presidency coming from the South, you begin to ask yourself whether power blocks within the so-called North and South are not oppressing minorities within those blocks. How easy is it for somebody from Edo to become president? Let's say he's going to the South next time. How easy is it for somebody from Orifite to become president? How easy is it for somebody from Isoko to become president? You go to the North. How easy is it for somebody from Kogi to become president? Nigeria, there are so many other places to name in the North. This thing about presidency, we have to be careful about it because some people are going to feel marginalized forever. Maybe the best thing is, let's stop this North and South thing. The best should keep on vying to rule this country. It's here in Nigeria, you keep hearing, it's the turn of the North, it's the turn of the South and all that. If we don't treat some of these things, we'll just be pretending about unity and all that, you know. I don't talk politics, but certain things sometimes agitate the mind of a journalist, you know.
I think there are merits on both sides. Those who say, okay, in the wisdom, in their own wisdom, let's rotate. And those who say, okay, leave it for the best. You may find a situation where it goes to a particular place, you know, all the time. That may not necessarily be
I agree
the best.
with you, Victor. But I'm saying that Africa should leave the clan arrangement at a point in its development.
I think this
Do you hear
is
people
Nigeria,
saying that
really.
the next Prime Minister of Britain will come from a part of... Do you hear it? Do you hear it in the US? It is nothing to do with them, with the Africans. It's a mark of how much we have developed our thinking about politics. That's what I think. Ribadu tackles Canada for denying CDS others visas. You read a bit there that mentioned the reasons. Otherwise, the paper I have here is saying that Canada will respond today.
No, what I see here is that the applications were made without a note verbal. That's a diplomatic note. So,
okay,
the federal government is trying to resolve the issues. As at yesterday.
I like the bit I read where we were being told that the best thing for us to do is to develop ourselves properly and attract natural respect from people. Are you likely to hear that somebody, the chief of defense staff of Canada, goes to somewhere and is denied entry and all that?
No, but if there are rules to play by, at least they've given a reason that it was an error. In fact, they said it was a diplomatic error.
It's okay.
So they should resolve that. It won't be a problem.
It's okay. Let them make sure they don't reserve diplomatic errors for some countries and never ever think about it concerning some countries. The green, white, green cannot be subjugated to any other country. We are Nigeria. Minimum wage, FCT workers shut schools, a secretariat. one would have thought that with Wike's proficiency, he would have influenced whoever is paying who within the FCT to get the minimum wage. I find it a bit puzzling, given his proactive stance on many issues. I find it a bit puzzling. I think it's something that they need to resolve as quickly as they can, so that the rest of the FCT go to the market happier than they do at the moment. What do you think?
Well, you say proficiency. Well, it's not perhaps not all covering kind of proficiency. Well, you've seen one area of lapse, perhaps.
Look at you. The hunter has become the hunted. Nere, you're writing a jam.
All right. Yeah, I was
Are
going
you
to talk
throwing
about...
up something on feminism?
No, not at all. You know, I was going to talk about the UTME story.
Yes.
Very sad. You know, I've tried to read the story. Parents, candidates expressing frustration at registration centers. I mean, there's so many rules now to be able to, you know, write the UTME. You have to get your profile uploaded. You know, so many things. And from what I have read, you know, the parents are alleging that in some centers, the computers are not working, you know, optimally. In some places, the equipment are not enough, so you have to queue and wait long hours. In some other places, people are asking for bribe to, you know, to jump the queue and all of that. So I mean, I just wish that all of this could be made as simple as possible and easier for the parents and the candidates. I mean, writing the exams itself is a difficult task, I mean, on the part of the candidates. So having to go through this process before the exam, I think it will wear them out. So I think JAMB, you know, should do the needful to address some of these concerns that have been raised. But away from the UTME story, another pressing story for me here is the story on Lassa fever that says that 70 persons have died in 1 month. Just 1 month. I mean, since the beginning of this year. So this report is about what happened in January, and you have 70 people, you know, dead. I think this is just one disease that you know, we need to pay attention to. And looking at the figure here, there are states that are most affected. So I mean, we can just deal with this. Taraba, Ondo, and Edo states have the highest number of casualties, according to a report. And out of the 70 that have died, the figure here says 1,552 suspected cases, and you know the way Lassa fever spreads.
Yes.
So I mean, this calls for action.
It's not just the way it spreads. Let me not go speculative, but a cure for it is not the easiest thing in the world, from what I read up somewhere. So what you want to concentrate on is how prompt response to these incidences, you know, of the disease is. Are we proactive? I mentioned that word again in terms of addressing these areas. I was at the hospital just 2 days ago, and I said, why is it not like a marketplace today again? One of the front desk people said, some people are ill, but they don't have money to come. This part. I said, but that would depend on the kind of illness they have. There are some illnesses you must take to hospital. The man said, Ogana, you're in the talk. Some people are dying silently at home.
True.
You have to appreciate what Nigerians are going through now. And by the way, one of my favorite doctors treating my patient has jackpot. And I have felt very bad since 2 days ago. I have felt very bad. He left. He treated my patient, a patient with compassion. You could see it, you could feel it. The Hippocratic oath flowed out of him practically each time he worked. We need to do many things about our life in Africa. We need to step up and make life more livable for people. Let's not just pay lip service to many things.
Indeed.
The Lassa fever you're talking about, many of those deaths could have been prevented if we rose to the occasion.
And perhaps we should adopt more preventive measures,
Exactly.
instead of curative.
An apple a day, you know, how do they complete it? An apple a day reduces the...
An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
That's it. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. You know, I don't know whether I can afford one anymore anyway.
Okay.
All right, I would have loved
We'll
to
have to
hear
let
your
you go.
You
take
can
on.
afford to kick me out.
Just
That's
go
what-
get one
we
apple.
need to go,
Go
but
get
there's
one
this
apple.
story here that I would have loved to hear your take. We must get communities to defend themselves, according to the DSS DG. But that will be next week. I'm sure maybe something will come up.
She whetted my appetite. Now it's time to politely ask me to get
Yes,
the hell
because my director says you need to go.
One apple for you.
out. Okay.
Valentine's gift.
Thank you so much.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe clean